What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the stream. Today we're going to be playing some Texas Chainsaw Massacre because everybody knows I'm the best hitchhiker main on this game. Wait a second. I'm not supposed to be playing on the stream right now. I'm supposed to be teaching people how to use Lucidchart. Alright, that's what we're doing then. Sorry guys, not playing Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We're learning how to do charting. And what's more exciting than playing Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Making a entity relationship diagram using Lucidchart. Not really, but we're going to learn how to do it anyways. So, and yes, I'm an amateur video recorder, so I'm using my streaming setup to record this video. Because it's the easiest way to do it. Anyways, if you don't already have a Lucidchart account, make sure you go to lucidchart.com, type it right the first time, and create your account. And if you already have an account like I do, it's going to take you to your documents page. And if you are like me, you might have a lot of documents. I probably have the most documents of anybody. And you're probably not going to have as many documents as me, but if you do, you'll notice that a lot of them say view only. And why is that? And that's because in the free version of Lucidchart, you can only have 3 editable documents at once, and the rest become view only. So, should that concern you? Not really, because you can keep creating a bunch of documents, but if you create a bunch of documents at once, I learned the hard way that if you create a lot of documents in one night, it likes to fuss about it, but it's not going to prevent you from creating documents. So, if we want to start from scratch from here on our documents page and we want to create a new diagram, what we want to do is we want to go to New up here in the top, and we're going to go to Lucidchart in this menu, and we're going to go to Create from Template. And as you can see, we have the database ER diagram option right here in the popular templates. But if that doesn't show up for you, you can always do a search. So you can go over here on the top left and you can type in ERD. And it's going to bring up a bunch of diagrams. And you'll see a couple different ERD diagram options here. Some of these are in a different notation. You're welcome to use those if you are familiar with that notation, but for our purposes, for this tutorial and for the demonstrations that I'm going to be doing in class, we're going to be using the crow's feet version. So we're going to hover over this and we're going to click open. And if you have more than 3 documents, you're going to get this warning. Don't worry, you can create the document anyways, which is what I'm going to do. They can't stop us. So I'm going to click create document. What that's going to do is just make my documents older than my recent 3. It's going to make them view only like the other ones you saw. When you first load in the diagram, it just throws some stuff in here by default for example, so you can delete this stuff out of here if you want. You just want to left click and highlight over this stuff in here, and you can either click delete or backspace on your keyboard to remove it. I typically just go ahead and get rid of this diagram key as well. We don't really need that. We're just making small diagrams. And another thing you'll notice is up at the top, it usually has like your username and a date and then a title. I usually leave this in because it's just useful and a quick way to give your diagram a name. So I'll click in here and I'll give this tutorial ERD example. I'll give it a name. And I'm just going to leave my little name here and the date in here. Over on the right here, you'll see this big window usually that says helpful tips. And That's going to have some stuff on how to export ERDs and reading about symbols and notation. So it is pretty helpful if you've never done this before and you need a little bit of guidance. But for me, I've done this a million times, and after you do this a couple times, you're going to be like, gosh, this thing is annoying and it's just in the way. Luckily, you can just click on it and delete it as well. You can get rid of it. Another thing to note is that you can expand this out. You can make it longer if you want. It just keeps going. And you can zoom in and out by using your mouse wheel like this, but you'll have to scroll back up using the scroll bars to get to where you want to be here. Alright, so now that we have our document ready here, I think we should start adding some entities, don't you think? So if we look over here on our left-hand side, we'll see our shapes that are available to us. Since we chose the database ER diagram template, we're going to have the entity relationship shapes by default right here. But one thing you'll notice is that we don't have the diamonds and the little arrow shapes that we need to represent the relationships, right? We only have these little entity boxes. So what we're going to have to do is add in some more shapes. And ignore my internet connection warning down here. It's because Spectrum is actually garbage, so you won't have this warning unless you have bad internet and you try to create too many documents at once, like I did. But behind this warning, there's a button that says More Shapes. You're going to want to click on that, and it's going to bring up this Insert Content panel right here, and make sure you have the Shapes tab selected right here. And on the side, you're going to see a bunch of libraries that are common that contain a bunch of shapes for different things. You're more than welcome to go down through here and click through these and see if any of them might be useful for your diagram. But the main ones that you're going to want to include for this and our exercises in your project are the entity relationship one that's already checked. And you're also going to want to scroll down here until you see flowchart shapes / containers right here. This one, if you click on it, it gives you a preview. It has the diamonds and things in it, and then it also has the little pointed pencil shape that might be useful for our associative entities. So I like to use this one. There's also another one a little bit further down under UML. If we expand this out, we can look at all the different UML diagram shapes. There's some arrows under here that you could use as well for that. And then there's also some diamonds and stuff under here. So if you want to use these UML shapes, you're more than welcome to do that as well. But the most important ones to make sure you have selected are the entity relationship and the flowchart shapes. And after you have your preferred... Yes, I know. My internet's awful, and I tried to create too many tables. After you have your shapes selected, you're just going to click on Use Selected Shapes, and that's going to add your shapes over here on your left-hand menu. Now we have the entity relationship shapes, we also have the flowchart shapes, and we also have the UML ones that I selected. So now let's add in some shapes. So I'm going to start here with the entity relationship shapes because I'm going to drop some entities in here. I'm going to drag a few in here. We're just going to do a little example. So let's just create a simple entity, couple entities here. Let's do employee. And we can go in here and we can enter in some fields. Oops. I'm going to zoom in a bit. Let's zoom in, right? I can't see this. I'm blind. You guys probably have better vision than me. But, let's zoom in a little bit. Add in some fields. First name. Last name. And say you want to enter in more than 3 fields, you can definitely do that. Let me move my face so you can see this. Boop, 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 boop. I'm going all, where am I going? Where am I gonna land? I'm gonna land up here, probably. And beep, 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 beep. Make myself tiny. There we go. When you click on your entity, on the right-hand side over here, you're gonna get some additional options. You can increase and decrease the amount of fields by clicking on the up and down arrows. You can insert more rows using these options. You can delete a row using this option. You can add a shaded header, which I like to do because it makes the entity title stand out from the attributes. So I'm going to click on shaded header and see how it makes it gray right there. That kind of helps your entity name stand out from your attributes a little bit. I like to do that. And you can also do alternate rows here, which give your every other row in your attributes a little bit of a shade. And you can change the color of that if you want to. I just like to keep it like a gray though. Alright, and I'm going to do projects. Project ID. Start date. Budget. And we're going to give that a shaded header as well. What color is that selected? I want to make these. It's going to mess with me if they're not matching. We're just going to make them matching shaded headers here. There we go. And now that we have our entities in here, you can add more attributes if you want, but this is just an example. Notice how also I've added my little asterisk in here next to my ID to indicate that this is a primary key. Don't forget to do that. But now that we have our entities in here, we want to drag some more shapes in here so we can put some relationships. So say we want to add a relationship between employee and projects. We're going to go in here. I personally like to use the diamond from the flowchart shapes because, one, it already has text in it, and I just find it easier to edit. So I'm going to bring this in here like this and drag this between these two entities here. And I'm going to click in here and I'm going to change this to say works on, because an employee works on a project. And in order to connect different shapes together, you'll notice when you hover over any of these shapes with your mouse, you'll get these little dots around the edge of your object. This is allowing you to click and connect a line to any other shape. And now you'll notice whenever you use this flowchart diamond, it's going to give you this arrow that says yes on it or an arrow that says no. You can just delete that out of there. That's just because it's for a flowchart originally, not for an ERD. But you can edit it to work for an ERD. So we can just click on the arrow right here and delete that text out of there. So now this looks weird, right? We don't want this foot here. We don't want this arrow here. We want to edit our cardinality and modality to match what we want it to be, right? We don't want this to we don't want this to look like this, right? We want to edit the feet on this to be what we want it to be. So in order to do that, you just want to click on the line here, and you're going to come up here to the top here where it says none and the little arrow here. This is representing both sides of your arrow here. So notice how on this arrow there's the black triangle on this side and then there's nothing over here. So that's why this says none and then black arrow, because you can edit both sides of this line. So we're going to edit this to be a employee works on 0 to many projects, right? So we're going to edit this endpoint right here. And we're going to scroll down in this list until we see what we want. 0 for the modality and many for the cardinality. Looks good. We're going to click on that. And now we have this side looking okay. Now we just want to edit this side, right? I'm going to delete this line actually because I want this to be lined up because I just like things to be nice and even. And we're going to make it nice and good here. That's better. It's still a little uneven, but it's fine. We're going to go in here and we're going to select this line. I'm going to change this to none because I don't want anything on that side, and I'm going to change this to, let's see, a project. We're going to say a project could be new and it doesn't have any employees on it. Or it can have many employees on it. So we're going to change this line to that as well. Or if you want to say that a project has at least one employee on it to many employees on it, you can change it to this, like we practiced in class. So it's just a matter of editing the shapes to make it what you want, and then also editing the endpoints of the lines to give you your cardinality and modality that you want. Now, something to be careful about is whenever you have a bunch of entities in here, say I have like 2 more entities in here and I'm adding in more relationships like this, that maybe this has another relationship, and like this has another relationship to this. Be careful whenever you have a bunch of entities on your diagram, because sometimes you'll end up with the lines crossing over like this, and it can get confusing and hard for you to read if you have a bunch of lines crisscrossing all over the place that don't need to be crisscrossed. So try to drag around your entities so that they're not crossing over each other's lines like this and getting all wonky, because sometimes that can be a little bit hard to read. So that's just something to keep in mind. But I think that pretty much covers the basics of how to create a new diagram in Lucidchart, as well as get the shapes that you need. So don't forget, you need to add the shapes that you need, and you need to edit the feet on the ends of the lines. So those are the most important things. And if you follow these steps, you'll be creating ERDs in no time. And that's all I have. And if you're watching this before the lab on Wednesday, good for you. You're getting a head start. I am going to demo this in class on Wednesday, but I wanted to also put a video out there for you guys to come back and reference. So that's all. And bye, everybody. We're going to end this video because I'm awkward and don't know how to end a video. Bye. Goodbye, everyone.